What do the days after Israel's war look like for 2 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip? As the dust begins to settle in Gaza after a ceasefire deal was reached between Israel and Hamas following 15 months of relentless Israeli bombing, it's become clearer than ever that there's very little left for Palestinians to return to in Gaza. Israel destroyed almost the entire strip, yet failed to achieve any of its stated goals for the war. A war that was meant to be against Hamas, but was on the entirety of the Gaza Strip and its people. When Israel declared war after the October 7th attacks, its stated goals were three things: to destroy Hamas, free all the captives by military force, restore safety and security to Israel, and ensure that Gaza no longer posed a threat to Israel. None of these objectives were achieved. In fact, with the official death toll exceeding 47,000 Palestinians by the time the ceasefire began, a third of which are children, residents in Gaza say Israel only succeeded in killing children and destroying the entire Gaza Strip. Hamas is still intact, emerging above ground with dozens of its fighters in full uniform to exchange the 3 female Israeli captives for the release of 90 Palestinians from Israeli prisons. The sight of Hamas fighters boosted morale in Gaza and highlighted the continued support for the group. Meanwhile, these same scenes sent shockwaves through Israel, prompting the question, what was our army doing in Gaza for 15 months? Despite Israel's military campaigns by air and ground, Hamas was neither uprooted or eliminated. On the contrary, the US said that Hamas has replaced nearly all of its killed fighters in Gaza with new recruits throughout the war, contrary to President Trump's claims.
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead.
President Donald Trump is believed to have played a significant role in securing the ceasefire deal, which came into effect just one day before his inauguration. His signing of executive orders was accompanied by ominous statements about Gaza's ceasefire holding up.
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident, but I think they're very weakened on the other side. Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way. You know, Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, the best weather, everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it.
The future of Gaza remains uncertain. Governing and rebuilding will be a monumental challenge for any future authority, be it Hamas or anyone else. Qatar's Prime Minister stated that many countries must contribute to Gaza's rebuilding, and no one should decide who governs Gaza except the Palestinians themselves.
We believe that, all countries will step up, will try to help the people, and will never punish the people for these kind of things. But also, we cannot have an investment where we are investing in the reconstruction every time, and something happen and it's just get destroyed, and we do it again. That's why I'm saying that there is now a huge requirement and a huge pressure on all of us to look at sustainable solutions where we can sustain peace.
Israel's relentless bombing campaign has left numerous crises in the Strip. Almost the entire population has been displaced, with most, if not all, homes destroyed or severely damaged. Gaza has no fully operational hospitals anymore, as Israel has specifically targeted hospitals and the healthcare workers inside them for the past 15 months. Gaza's water supply has been cut off since the beginning of the war by Israel, and basic food necessities remain scarce. More aid is gradually entering Gaza as the ceasefire agreement takes effect, but meeting the needs of the whole population is an overwhelming task. Over on Israel's side, the blame game and internal divisions that Netanyahu was stalling all along are beginning to resurface. The image of victory that Netanyahu was looking for so badly is nowhere to be seen. Many of the captives were killed in Gaza as a result of Israel's indiscriminate bombing campaign. The return of the captives is now only being achieved through a deal with Hamas. Since the start of the war, several Israeli officials have resigned, and protests against the government saw hundreds of thousands take to the streets in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, criticizing the army's failures on October 7th and conduct of the army and government's extremism since. Israel has also faced international condemnation for its government's actions. The Israeli army behaved in ways deemed out of line by any military standards, both in their attacks and through bizarre, sadistic acts in Gaza, broadcasting these acts themselves. Despite this, the government and its spokespeople have justified their targeting of Palestinian civilians and lied about it on the international stages, with the US providing similar cover for Israel's actions. The cracks in Israel's coalition government have widened, with Netanyahu being the only remaining member of the original war cabinet. Benny Gantz resigned in June 2024, and Yoav Gallant was fired as defense minister in November 2024. Far-right minister Itamar Ben-Gvir then quit the government in protest of the ceasefire deal, and days later, Israel's military chief resigned over October the 7th failures. And the head of the Shin Bet, Israel's internal security services, may follow in suit and resign as well. Arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant have been issued by the International Criminal Court over war crimes committed in Gaza, and Israel is facing charges of genocide at the International Court of Justice. Additionally, Israeli soldiers are now struggling to travel due to potential charges they may face in other countries for their conduct in Gaza. As a result, the Israeli army has announced it will be hiding the identities of soldiers at all ranks due to arrest warrants and investigations into war crimes in Gaza. Israel's army is also exhausted after 15 months of war on several fronts, and the country has spent an estimated $35 billion on war expenditures since the start of the war. Whilst the ceasefire brought some relief to Gaza, Israel has significantly ramped up operations in the occupied West Bank, particularly in Jenin, announcing something called Operation Iron Wall. And Israel imposed restrictions between towns during the prisoner exchange deal, making it very difficult for journalists and locals to get around and back home. As raids intensify in the West Bank and Gaza lies destroyed and home to the largest number of child amputees in modern history, Palestinians are caught between a sense of relief at the war's end and the overwhelming pain of the unimaginable losses. For many, the initial joy quickly gave way to the crushing reality of devastation, with family members, homes, businesses, and schools buried under the rubble left by Israel's war on Gaza.